Hey there. I am 40 years old, and my wife is 35. We have been married for a decade now, and overall, we have a great life together. My wife and I share a strong bond. We have two wonderful kids, a cozy home, and I run my own business. Things have been going well. We are happy with our family life, and we both have fulfilling social lives outside of it. Our relationship has always been solid, including our physical and emotional connection. About 4 years back, my wife got her real estate license after spending years working in various areas of that industry. It started as a way to stay active, occupy her time, and bring in some extra income. The company she joined a couple of years ago is big on social networking events, and that has been driving a wedge between us. I have tagged along to one or two of these gatherings, and I left with a feeling that did not sit right with me. Honestly, around 9 out of 10 of the folks I met rubbed me the wrong way. Most of them came across as very self-centered, only interested in talking about their own achievements, and, to my dismay, many seemed overly flirtatious with my wife. I get it. She is beautiful, friendly, and easy to talk to. Lately, these events have led to her coming home late, usually after a night of heavy drinking. There are two things that bother me most. First, her professional relationships with the men in her company have become way more social than I am comfortable with. Second, these networking events feel more like an excuse to go out, drink, and spend time with other guys. Sure, many of these men are married, but I cannot bring myself to trust their intentions. Just last week, my wife and I agreed she would be home from one of these events by midnight. I even went out of my way to remind her to keep an eye on her drinking. But then 2 in the morning rolled around, and she was nowhere to be found. She was not answering my messages, although I could tell from her location she was still near the event, which was over an hour away from our home. Finally, after several calls, she picked up, clearly drunk, and said she was planning to stay at a hotel with one of her girlfriends. I had to remind her that I had to be up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready for work. In the end, she managed to take a car to the train station, and from there, she drove herself home, even in her drunken state. As if that was not enough, I later saw flirty text exchanges on her phone with multiple men, some married, some single. I am at my wit's end with this career choice. She does not seem to be handling these events responsibly, and it is putting a real strain on us. This is not the first time something like this has happened. A few months back, there was a similar incident, and back then, she promised me she would keep herself in check. Clearly, that has not happened. The idea of her driving drunk is hard to swallow. She risked her own safety, the safety of others, and even our marriage, all for a networking event tied to her real estate job. On top of that, there are these flirtatious messages with her colleagues. Now, I am no expert in real estate networking, but I am pretty sure that getting drunk and sending flirty messages to coworkers is not exactly how one builds their career or improves their sales. From what I gather, this is not unusual for her. It has happened before, and she continues with the same behavior. I am starting to wonder if she may even have a drinking problem. If I were giving advice to someone in my situation, I would say it is time for a serious conversation. She needs to understand how this is affecting our family, our marriage, and her connection with me. She might need some real help, and maybe even a fresh start at a new company. But I am also considering what I will have to do if she refuses to make changes and does not stop this destructive behavior. All right, I know this might ruffle some feathers, but I have to be honest. I see a lot of real estate agents, developers, and pretty much anyone involved in this industry as some of the most shallow, self-centered, and, frankly, sexually inappropriate people I have ever met. I think it is high time for a real sit-down to talk about boundaries and expectations for our marriage. If my wife cannot agree to this, separation might be the only option. I read some responses to my situation that really struck a chord. Someone suggested pulling up her messages and reading them out loud to her, then telling her straight up, "If you want to act like you are single, maybe we should just go through with a divorce so you can be single." This last weekend pushed me to my limit. I am fed up with her job and this career path she is so set on. It is putting a strain on our marriage. She is out here flirting with married men, and it has practically become an emotional affair at this point. She needs to decide what truly matters to her, and if it is not me, then we might be done. Another comment really hit home. The issue is not the career itself, it is the choices she is making within it. There are plenty of real estate professionals who do not go out, get wasted, and leave their families at home so they can flirt with other married and single people. My wife is completely responsible for her behavior, and I am not sure I can keep going if she has no intention of changing. If she stays on this path, cheating is not far off. Then there was a thoughtful response from someone who works in a similar field. They admitted that drinking and partying are massive issues in these circles, so much so that it concerned them. They talked about forming a close-knit group of top-performing agents who support each other by attending events without drinking, leaving at reasonable times, and organizing other kinds of healthy social gatherings like hikes, lunches, and brunches. I appreciated this approach. These are high-achieving people making it work without falling into the toxic side of the industry. I found that advice to be one of the most helpful responses yet. The top people in the business seem as tired of the unhealthy culture as I am, and maybe my wife would be open to making a shift if she sees her career idols doing it. I am considering suggesting something like that to her, setting up healthier activities with the people she is close to. For a bit more background, our kids are still quite young, and when we were dating, she had no career ambitions and wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. My career was already established by the time we got together, and I have tried to make sure she has a good life. She has plenty of social time outside of our family and home, gets to enjoy her hobbies, and we spend quality time as a couple. We even take trips together, with and without the kids. At home, I handle my share of the work. I cook, clean, do the laundry, buy groceries, and make time for both her and the kids. As for her drinking, it is not something she has to do. It is a choice. We can go weeks without her touching a drink, but she is only about 100 pounds and gets caught up in the social drinking scene easily. And while I do not want to make excuses for her actions, this behavior is hard to swallow for me. My sister was almost killed in a drunk driving accident just over a year ago, so the fact that my wife risked driving home drunk after all that is deeply unsettling. Honestly, a small part of me almost wished she had been pulled over. It would have driven home just how reckless she has been and the real consequences of it. We have had serious heart-to-heart talks about her texting habits in the past. Each time, she feels ashamed, promises she will stop, and swears that it is only flirtation with nothing physical involved. But then, sooner or later, she falls right back into it. She realizes that going out for random drinks at bars is wrong, but it is like she cannot seem to stop herself from doing it. To me, that shows there is a drinking problem. We are pretty different in situations like this. If she ever questioned my own behavior, I have the discipline to change immediately. If it came down to it, I would quit drinking that same day, and it would not be a big deal for me. She does not seem to have that same drive. Everyone in the community seems to agree that I need to address this with her. Whether it is truly a drinking problem, a cheating problem, or something else entirely, there is clearly something wrong here, and it is on me to do something about it. Now, let us move on to the latest update on how everything has played out. I received a lot of messages asking for an update on our situation, and I want to thank everyone who responded with understanding and empathy. A lot has happened since my wife's night out. After noticing her flirtatious messages, I asked her to let me look through her phone. I told her I needed to know what else had been said. She handed it over, and as I dug a little deeper, I discovered that her flirtations went way further than I had ever anticipated. The man she had been texting had just broken up with his girlfriend, and my wife's response to him mentioned that things were not going well between us. To make it worse, I found out that while we were on a recent vacation near where this man lives, she had arranged to meet him at the gym to work out together. Learning about this crushed me. Not only was I horrified to realize she met with him behind my back, but I was completely blindsided to see her talking about the possibility of us heading toward a divorce. After that discovery, we had a rough week. She was deeply ashamed of her behavior, the drinking, the messages with this man, and the secret meetup. She told me that she feels like I hate her, which honestly hurt to hear, considering I do everything I can to make her happy. She swore to me that nothing physical happened, and after reviewing the messages, I actually believe her. It seems she did not even know he had broken up with his girlfriend until he texted her after they met at the gym. In the messages, he even said that although he found her attractive, he did not want to interfere with our marriage or be a distraction while we tried to work things out. I have to give him some credit for that. I told her that if anything physical had happened, I needed her to be completely honest. I was willing to work through anything as long as she was upfront about it. But I also warned her that if I found out later she lied, there would be no second chances. I also discussed with her the importance of getting tested, for her health, for mine, and for the sake of our kids. She had been on her period during our vacation, so I felt somewhat reassured that nothing physical took place, but she agreed to get tested to give me peace of mind, and everything came back negative. I also decided to start talking to my therapist about all of this. She recommended a few couples therapists for us to try, and she suggested that my wife might be dealing with deeper issues or past traumas that could be affecting her judgment and behavior. My wife has since started seeing a therapist on her own, and we have had a session together with a couples therapist. That first session was eye-opening. The therapist did a deep dive into the history of our relationship, why we were seeking help, and then laid out a plan for moving forward. Next week, we will start individual sessions with her, and then continue with more couple sessions. We are also planning to address her issues with alcohol during our sessions with the therapist. It was actually my therapist who suggested we take a deeper look at her drinking habits, but when I mentioned it to my wife, she felt insulted at the idea that she might have a drinking problem. My therapist pointed out that my wife is not ready to hear that from me and might need professional help to address it. As I shared in my initial post, she does not drink all that often, and most of the time, she can stop after 1 or 2 drinks. But binge drinking is a different story, and I do believe it is a serious problem, so I am treating it as such. We are both aware that there is a lot of work ahead of us, but we are committed to making it work. I had a rough upbringing due to my parents' divorce, so when I took my vows, I meant every word. I believe my wife did, too. After talking things through with both therapists, I feel confident that couples can heal and move forward from an emotional betrayal, often coming out stronger on the other side. I owe it to myself, to her, and to our kids to give this relationship everything I can. If it does not work out or if something else undermines our marriage down the road, then at least I can say I tried, and I will be able to move forward with that peace of mind. My wife has shown a lot of remorse for what happened. She has admitted that she does not understand why she acts this way, but she knows it is wrong and genuinely wants to change. She is getting the help she needs and understands the damage she has done to our relationship. She is well aware that I have lost trust in her, especially in social situations, and she knows it will take a long time to rebuild that trust. She has since cut off all communication with the guy, and she even offered to leave her job. I am not sure if that is the solution. I believe she finds a sense of purpose in her work that she does not feel at home. But the bottom line is, if she cannot handle herself at work events, I cannot trust her to handle herself anywhere. She had plans to attend a big work retreat and national conference later this year, but she has decided to cancel those plans. We had also arranged a short getaway together for last weekend, but I had to cancel it. I just could not bring myself to take a trip with her so soon after everything that had happened. Things are starting to feel a little less tense between us now, and we are definitely talking more openly. To be honest, I know some people might not agree with my decision, but this is the choice I am making. I believe she was in an emotional affair, and I cannot shake the feeling that she was on the verge of letting it turn physical. I mean, it is hard to ignore that we ended up vacationing in the same area where this guy lives. And sometimes, I feel like she is playing the victim here, saying things like how she feels I hate her for what happened, and then offering these sacrifices like quitting her job, cutting ties with the guy, and saying she knows what she did was wrong and wants to change. But maybe that is just my own doubt creeping in. One thing I have to address, though, I know I mentioned that her emotional affair partner had a bit of a conscience since he told her he did not want to interfere with our marriage. But on reflection, I realize he knew she was married all along, even while he kept messaging her and met her in person under the guise of working things out. I was too quick to give him the benefit of the doubt. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he is no stand-up guy. Anyway, I understand if people might have made different choices than I did, but this is my life and my call. All I can do now is try to move forward and see what the future holds. Thanks to everyone who has supported me along the way. I really appreciate it. Our company makes software, but a while back, we also sold a small Bluetooth accessory that worked with one of our apps. It came in bright colors, and we offered multipacks, as it was the kind of device people often wanted more than one of. It even became a hot gift item one holiday season. Unfortunately, that same year, our manufacturer seriously dropped the ball. They failed to deliver our full inventory and, worse, Much of what we did receive had serious defects. It was a huge disaster for our small company, and I found myself right on the front lines dealing with the fallout. We ended up severely backordered at the busiest time of year. We had sold units that were either never delivered to us or arrived defective, so we had to contact customers and let them know their orders would be delayed until after the holidays. Some customers wanted refunds, others were willing to wait, and we tried everything we could to keep them happy, offering apologies, bending over backward, and trying to prevent as many cancellations as possible. Then there was one guy who was absolutely relentless. He had ordered our biggest multipack, and he wanted it immediately. I do not even know how many times he contacted us, but every time he did, he would get escalated up to me. I explained to him repeatedly that, much as we wanted to, we simply could not ship his order right away. We would gladly refund him if he preferred, but there were many other customers ahead of him. He did not care. He demanded that his order be sent out first, no matter who else had to wait. Nearly every day, he would berate me and try to order me around, as if he could make it happen just by sheer force. Eventually, I had enough. I opened up the spreadsheet we were using to track back orders and quietly moved his name to the very bottom of the list. Sure, it meant more time dealing with his rants, but at that point, I felt just petty enough to do it. After the holidays, upper management went to war with the manufacturer, and we finally started receiving usable stock. I prioritized a few deserving or especially eager customers at the top of the list, but for the most part, I shipped orders out in the original order they were placed, except for this one guy, who was now firmly at the bottom. I had a plan for the next time he called, and when he inevitably did, I told him we had stock but were still fulfilling earlier orders. Additionally, I mentioned we had yet to receive all the colors he had selected. Then he said the magic words, "I do not care what colors you send, just send them to me immediately." That was the green light I had been waiting for. Among our available colors was a bright, unmistakable pink, so I packed up his order in all pink units and shipped it right out. When I informed him, he sounded gloriously smug, clearly thinking he had somehow won. But sure enough, the day his package arrived, he emailed me again, furious. "I know I said I would accept any color, but you sent me an order with nothing but pink. I want this replaced," he wrote. I simply replied, "That is all we have available, and as per our last conversation, this matter is now closed." And that was it. I never heard from him again. It was a few years before I told this story, but I have shared it a few times at work meetings, even with the CEO. I have sworn off support jobs, even if it meant saving every stray puppy on earth, but that story alone made all the hassle worth it. It is a good reminder. Always treat support agents with respect, for your own sake. What do you think about this story? Write in comments. If you don't follow our channel Cheating Room, you will probably never hear from us again. If you are subscribed, congratulations, you will not miss any exciting story. Thank you for listening to this shocking story with us. See you again.